Recently, Piero Tozzi, a U.S. congressional official on the China Committee, discussed the Chinese Communist Party's methods of infiltrating the United States. He spoke during a meeting with Chinese dissidents.
The level of knowledge about CCP infiltration is very low. The fact of the matter is that oftentimes Chinese money comes and corrupts. Okay, so we see corruption. We see, it's very interesting. So oftentimes it's corruption of our business elites. So the elite capture. We also see sex. We saw even a congressman who fell prey to that here in Congress. And then we even see things such as organ harvesting, the promise of organs for people.
He highlighted that money and sexual bribery are two traditional methods the CCP employs in its external infiltration efforts. In recent years, the CCP has increasingly used sexual bribery boldly and openly, which has raised unprecedented alarm in the international community. In this episode, we will reveal an inside story that most people may not be aware of. The CCP has secretly run a Red Detachment of Women program for decades. The Red Detachment of Women originally referred to a female agent unit featured in a 1960 Chinese film. The film portrays a special group of female agents from the CCP's army, active on Hainan Island before the founding of the People's Republic of China. Before the CCP came to power, the organization carried out underground operations, extensively using seduction tactics. Female agents who carried out these operations were hailed as heroes and were referred to as the Red Detachment of Women. After the CCP took control, this group expanded its operations overseas. Senior commentator Du Zheng revealed on Taiwanese outlet Up Media that a modern-day Red Detachment of Women is currently active on the international stage. This group can be described as an evil force using sex traps to neutralize its targets. Du recalled hearing about this plan about 30 years ago from a retired city official in China. The official explained that after China opened its doors in the 1980s for what was called Reform and Opening Up, the CCP created a Red Detachment of Women program to train female spies for overseas missions. The CCP's intelligence system traces its origins back to the Yan'an period, with the Central Social Department. In 1983, the CCP set up the Ministry of State Security. During the Chinese Civil War, the Nationalist Party was infiltrated by numerous CCP spies, many of whom had been recruited while they were young. Modern CCP operatives continue this pattern, with early recruitment and deep cover operations being hallmarks of their methods. In earlier years, the CCP focused on recruiting individuals with strong educational backgrounds, often selecting candidates from prestigious universities in Beijing, particularly those from foreign language departments. It is reported that the CCP would provide these university students with brief training, making them lifelong agents of the MSS. This approach was not limited to the MSS. China's military intelligence agencies, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and especially the United Workfront Department have been quietly recruiting agents, with a special focus on utilizing women. Over the past 40 years, some of these women, trained by the MSS, were directly sent abroad, while others were embedded in various industries domestically before being sent overseas. Many of them stayed abroad and married people from different countries, mostly targeting rising stars in the political and business sectors who were considered to have potential. Ye Xuanning was a prominent member of the Red Second Generation. He passed away in 2016 and was once the vice president of the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries. He also worked as a liaison for the General Political Department. Under the cover of the China Kelly Industrial Company, he helped raise funds for the liaison office, and he was also responsible for intelligence work related to Taiwan. A few years ago, it was reported that his 3,000 soldiers overseas were handed over to Xi Jinping after he took office. These 3,000 soldiers referred to CCP agents who had been stationed overseas for years. The figure 3,000 was just an estimation. The actual number was likely much higher. It's not unusual for two countries to engage in covert operations and counterintelligence. However, the West has long underestimated the CCP's methods. Their traditional approach involves using extreme, unscrupulous tactics, and their methods are often more insidious and underhanded. Historically, in 1987, the United States, due to Soviet sexual entrapment of U.S. military personnel, imposed a blanket ban on relationships between U.S. diplomats and local citizens. After the Cold War ended, these restrictions were somewhat relaxed. However, the U.S. recognized that it must stay vigilant. People have weaknesses, and the CCP has long exploited these vulnerabilities. In his book, Losing the New China, Ethan Gutman describes the extreme promiscuity of Americans in Beijing during the early 20th century. He cites a 2002 Xinhua report that revealed a bar district in Sanlitun, where bar owners, bodyguards, and sex workers had formed a party branch. The CCP began recruiting capitalists into the party, including sex workers catering to foreign clients. Gutman argues that the CCP allows this kind of freedom for foreign nationals to further its commercial and political interests. In recent years, as trade wars and political tensions between China and the U.S. have intensified, new policies have been enacted. On April 2, 2025, the Associated Press reported that the U.S. government implemented a new policy banning U.S. personnel, their families with security clearances, and contractors from engaging in any romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese nationals. The policy aims to counter China's honeypot strategy. While some U.S. institutions have had strict guidelines on these types of relationships, this blanket no-intimacy policy has never been publicly enforced since the Cold War. In contrast, U.S. diplomats in other countries often date or marry local citizens without issue. This move clearly reflects how the U.S. views the CCP as its greatest threat, stepping up efforts to prevent Chinese infiltration and avoid the use of honeypot traps. It signals a return to the level of vigilance the U.S. had during the Cold War. Reports continue to expose how the CCP's Red Detachment of women has already infiltrated the U.S. and other countries. While Russia, another authoritarian regime, uses similar tactics, its methods are far less sophisticated compared to the CCP's. Recent reports from The Times, The Economic Times, and WION-TV reveal that Chinese and Russian agents are waging a sex warfare campaign against the U.S., with Silicon Valley professionals as their primary targets. Beautiful female spies are being sent to use their charms to steal high-tech information. Palmier Consulting is a company that provides risk assessments for U.S. businesses investing in China. Its intelligence director, James Mulvanon, revealed that he is one of the many men recently targeted by foreign female spies. Mulvanon reported that he had been receiving a large number of LinkedIn requests from young, attractive Chinese women, noting that their approach was very sophisticated and that this has been happening more frequently. He recalled an incident at a recent business seminar in Virginia. The seminar was focused on the risks of Chinese investment. 2 attractive Chinese women attempted to enter the venue. Mulvanon explained that they hadn't allowed them to enter, but the women knew every detail about the event, which he found to be really unsettling. Mulvanon, who had studied intelligence and espionage operations in the U.S. for 30 years, noted that these honey trap tactics reveal a real vulnerability for the U.S. He explained that due to legal and cultural reasons, the U.S. does not use such methods, which gives adversaries an asymmetrical advantage in sex warfare. According to 5 counterintelligence experts interviewed by The Times, sex warfare is just one of the many tools foreign powers use to infiltrate the U.S. tech sector. Sources say China is not only holding startup competitions in the U.S. to steal sensitive business plans, but is also actively trying to undermine American tech companies. In February, the U.S. House Homeland Security Committee warned that the CCP had carried out at least 60 espionage operations in the U.S. over the past 4 years. However, a former counterintelligence officer cautioned that this may just be the tip of the iceberg. The Commission on the Theft of American Intellectual Property estimates that trade secret theft costs U.S. taxpayers up to $600 billion a year, with China identified as the primary source. On October 10th, Representative Tim Burchett revealed on the Tucker Carlson podcast how the CCP uses women, men, and even drugs to manipulate key figures in U.S. decision-making. They use methods like seduction, blackmail, and control. He also mentioned that the CCP runs prostitution rings involving government officials and lobbyists. On October 8th, the U.S. State Department confirmed that it had dismissed a senior Foreign Service officer for being romantically involved with a suspected Chinese spy. The U.S. State Department spokesperson, Tommy Pigott, said in a statement that the Foreign Service officer admitted on camera that his Chinese girlfriend could have been a spy, and that her father was straight-up Communist Party. Pigott added, "Under Secretary Rubio's leadership, we will maintain a zero-tolerance policy for any employee who is caught undermining our country's national security." This was the first case under a new policy, implemented in January 2025, which prohibits U.S. diplomats from engaging in romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese citizens. The U.S. State Department did not disclose the officer's name, but he had appeared in a video released by conservative journalist James O'Keefe. On August 6th, the O'Keefe Media Group reported that U.S. Foreign Service officer Daniel Choi confessed to an undercover reporter, saying, "I defied my government for love." He admitted that he had failed to disclose his romantic relationship with a 27-year-old Chinese woman named Zoe Zhao. Choi revealed that Zhao's father is a senior CCP official. He said he would only report the relationship if it became serious or led to marriage. In reality, the CCP has been using honey traps worldwide for years, not only targeting politicians, but also infiltrating lower-level staff and interns. Many such cases have already been exposed. In the early 2010s, Christine Fong, a Chinese student in California, developed close relationships with several U.S. politicians, including then-Representative Eric Swalwell, who later became a member of the House Intelligence Committee. After catching the attention of the FBI, Fong fled back to China. In August 2011, Chinese actress Shao Xiaoshan posted on Sina and Tencent Weibo, revealing that in 2007 she was forced to work as a spy for the CCP's military intelligence agency. Her task was to engage in a romantic relationship with the children of Western diplomats in order to gather intelligence. She stated, "The Chinese government used me for many years without paying, and if I didn't comply, they would target me." In 2011, former Taiwanese Army Major General Luo Xianzhe, who was recruited as a CCP spy, was likely targeted after the CCP stole information from his personal phone. They discovered his interest in women, and while he was serving as a military attaché in Thailand, the CCP sent a young, attractive woman named Li Peiqi to recruit him. Li was a department head from the Ministry of State Security. In recent years, countries along the Belt and Road, including Thailand and Malaysia, have seen a surge in visits from politicians from various parties. When these officials visit China, they're often lured using sexual warfare tactics. After traveling to China, foreign visitors are easily manipulated through sexual lures. Recently, Chinese tech giant Huawei, backed by the state, was embroiled in a bribery scandal in Europe. 8 individuals have been accused of corruption, money laundering, and involvement in criminal organizations. Belgian prosecutors revealed that these activities may have been happening secretly and regularly since 2021, with Huawei using business lobbying as a cover to bribe politicians and officials. These bribes including offering money and other perks in exchange for political support, sending luxurious gifts like meals, or covering travel expenses to entice officials, and regularly inviting them to events like football games to build relationships. Prosecutors claim these bribes directly benefited Huawei. Independent commentator Du Zheng believes that when it comes to Huawei's travel arrangements to China, sexual bribery is always involved. The CCP's Red Detachment of women typically uses short-term sexual bribes, but forming romantic relationships or legal marriages is a longer-term strategy. In 2011, Bob Detchert, a member of Canada's Conservative Party and Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs at the time, publicly apologized for his romantic involvement with Shi Rong, a Chinese woman working as a reporter for Xinhua News Agency in Toronto. After their relationship became public, Shi Rong was abruptly recalled to China. According to Japan's Shukun Taishu, in April 2017, there were at least 50,000 Chinese spies operating in Japan. Among Japan's ground, maritime, and air self-defense forces, 800 men had married foreign wives, 70% of whom were Chinese nationals. The report noted that many Chinese female spies were stationed around Japanese self-defense force bases. Some worked in karaoke bars linked to the CCP's Ministry of Public Security, while others worked at supermarkets frequented by their targets. They would use opportunities like making purchases to meet targets, later staging accidental encounters on rainy days by offering an umbrella. On October 27, 2024, 2 women suspected to be Chinese overseas police agents were transferred to Japanese prosecutors for involvement in a fraud case. One, 44-year-old He Li-hong, using the alias Wu Lixiang, held titles as a foreign secretary and foreign advisor to Japanese Senator Shinpei Matsushita. She even had access to the Senate building. Former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has once referred to Matsushita as a political star of the future. A journalist witnessed Matsushita and He Li-hong visiting a Chinese benefactor. After leaving that person's home, they were seen engaging in intimate behavior in the car. After their relationship developed, Matsushita had a divorce dispute with his wife, who comes from a political family in Miyazaki. In 2020, German police raided the home of Gerhard Sabathil, a former EU ambassador to South Korea. He was suspected of providing intelligence to the CCP. His live-in girlfriend, a Chinese woman, met Sabathil after interning at the European headquarters. Although German authorities struggled to find concrete evidence and stopped investigation, the diplomat's connection with the Chinese woman remains highly suspicious. According to Du Zheng's article in Taiwanese media, the CCP's Red Detachment of Women program is also active within China. Over the past 2 decades, as more foreign political and business figures have traveled there, anyone receiving a free trip to China is likely to be set up and controlled. The CCP arranges sexual services for these foreign visitors, recording the encounters and later using this material to manipulate them. Even foreign students are assigned sex companions by Chinese universities, an underhanded tactic designed to prepare these students to work for the CCP later on. With the moral decay of society, this Red Detachment program has become more corrupt and complex. Du Zheng said that a friend of his, who works as the office director at a large private enterprise, manages a PR team composed entirely of women. This team is often tasked with special missions, such as seducing high-ranking officials to serve the company's business interests. Meanwhile, government officials from provincial or city foreign affairs offices or the United Workfront Department are often tasked with meeting foreign guests. This model of cooperation between government and business is widespread. Many well-known Chinese private clubs are run by CCP elite families, with private enterprises acting as fronts. These private clubs are also used by the government to host special foreign guests, a practice most people are unaware of. Some universities even arrange for university students to serve as companions for foreign visitors, sometimes under the guise of party or youth league activities. These tasks are usually kept secret, with participating women being rewarded with favors, including help with party membership, employment, and promotions. Those who refuse are often ignored. Some of these women who are available on demand are actually prostitutes, and their lists are managed by the companies that host these important guests. Du Zheng believes that the CCP's use of female spies, combined with the rampant sexual bribery in the Chinese and political world over the past 3 decades, has become a significant international threat that demands attention. He also pointed out that the CCP's large-scale Red Detachment of women harms ordinary Chinese people overseas, as they are tainted by the negative image from the CCP. To shed this stigma, Chinese people living overseas must first recognize the CCP's evil nature, which is rooted in Marxism-Leninism. They should reject it and support global efforts to end the CCP's reign. This, he believes, is the true calling of the Chinese people.